Five Bad Boys, Billy Q, and the Dustdobbin by Susan Patron. The one thing Billy Q had in common with the Dustdobbin, who lived under his bed, was this: they both hated brooms. So Billy Q never swept, and all in all the two of them got along fine. The Dustdobbin minded his P's and Q's, keeping track of everything that went on close to the floor. Being shy and tolerant, he kept to himself among his dust balls, with an old slipper for his bed and a sock for his blanket. He never had any call to play his size-changing tricks on Billy Q. But then one day Billy Q stepped on him. That got Dustdobbin riled, so he just naturally had to set things straight. It was because he woke up hungry, Billy Q did, and got out of bed in a big hurry to make breakfast. His long, bony foot came down, smack on the 5 tiny toes of the Dustdobbin, who cried, "Ow! Watch out for folks smaller than yourself." "Such small folk ought not to be under my feet in the morning," said Billy Q, who was sometimes touchy and peevish before his breakfast. "Small folk should be more particular where they stand, and that's freely given advice." This made the Dustdobbin so vexed his hair went flat. "You're going to find out what it's like to be small," he said, and he shrank Billy Q down to his size, no bigger than a soup spoon. Billy Q looked at his new pipsqueak self. "Now you give me back to my true and natural size," he said. The Dustdobbin laughed in a sneezy way. "You gave me 5 sore toes and some free advice. You'll get your size back when the 5 gifts are given to you. Not before." Billy Q pondered on this. He figured he could ask the mamas of some bad boys he knew. He figured they'd give him some things from their kitchens. But the Dustdobbin guessed Billy Q's plan. "No asking aloud," he said. "The gifts must be freely given, just like your advice." Then he laughed again, and the dust balls floated up from his dusty hair and beard. He knew Billy Q had no rich friends with presents to give, nor a birthday any time soon. He reckoned Billy Q would have a long, long time to learn about being small. "Botheration!" said Billy Q, for he was that put out. He went outside and sat under the water spigot, whose faucet he could no longer reach. He pondered over the problem of how to get 5 gifts without asking for them, pondered hard enough to make himself right thirsty. The Dustdobbin, who had followed Billy Q outside, sat hidden in a patch of dandelions. Just then 5 rowdy bad boys came running up from town. They were cross-grained and hard-headed and looking for trouble. What they found was Billy Q, small as a soup spoon and sad as empty pockets. "Phoo, boys," said Q. "I don't need you around here when I've shrunk so small I fit inside my own shoe. Skittle-scattle home." But those stubborn boys almost never did what they were told. They dug their mitts into their pockets. They dug their heels into the dirt, and they stayed where they were, gawking and gawking at wee Billy Q. "This here new scrimpy size is my worry. You boys can't help me, so scram." But those headstrong boys did not listen to what they were told. Seeing Billy Q so scanty and so pitiful made them even more ornery, and they would not leave. The first stubborn boy, who was so contrary he wore his shoes on the wrong feet, dug a bottle cap out of his pocket. "Here's the cap, little Billy," he said, "to keep the sun off your head." Billy Q put it on. It fit, but it wobbled. The second stubborn boy, who was so willful he ate cold cooked squash, pulled a rubber band out of his pocket. "Here's a cap strap, little Billy, to hold your cap in place." Billy Q put it over his cap and under his chin twice around, and it fit without a wobble. The third stubborn boy, who was so wayward he wore his cap backwards, found a gum wrapper in his pocket. He made it a square, and then he folded it carefully 5 times. "Here's a cup, little Billy," he said, and filled it with water from the spigot. Billy Q drank from the tiny cup, which did not leak. The fourth stubborn boy, who was so headstrong he wore his overalls inside out, took a popsicle stick from his pocket. He propped it between some rocks. "Here's a bench to sit on, little Billy," he said, "so you can swing your legs." Billy Q climbed on the bench, swung his legs, and squinted into the bright, hot sun. The fifth stubborn boy, who was so sassy he combed his hair before going to bed instead of when he got up in the morning, felt in his pockets, which were purely empty. That boy had nothing but his own shadow, so he gave that to Billy Q by standing in front of the sun. Now that he was in the shade, Billy Q grinned, and in the time it took, he grew back to his true and natural size. He kept on grinning because he knew he had 5 friends, good and stubborn ones, and because now, finally, he could reach his cook stove. "You boys are not so bad," he said, and winked at the hidden Dustdobbin. "Let's all have breakfast." And for once those boys were either too surprised or too hungry to be contrary. From that day on, there were no more wrangles or squabbles with the Dustdobbin, because now and again Billy Q left useful things like bottle caps and rubber bands and gum wrappers and popsicle sticks under the bed, and the Dustdobbin keenly appreciated such freely given gifts. Billy Q also watched where he put his feet in the morning, and he didn't mind a bit when a sock or a slipper turned up missing, and he never forgot what it was like to be small. The end.